Well, a few people are coming in, so let's kick things off. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for this talk about the latest lowdown on the Microsoft Direct CSP requirements. So you probably had an email last month with some news changes in the CSP program from Microsoft. Probably raises some questions that you guys have. So we wanted to bring folks together and make sure we clear things up and help you move forward. This is today's call goal. So just before we start, just want to make clear things up to make sure this is meant to be an interactive call, not like a webinar where we provide a lot of content, but we want to be more like a discussion. So we strongly encourage you to use the question pan on your GoToMeeting app, and I'll try to make sure to pose the questions to our guest speakers for today. So talking about guest speakers, my name is Simon. I'll be your host for today, but we invited Charles Lippe, partner, development manager at Microsoft. Hi, Charles. Nice to have you here.
Hey, thank you, Simon, and I'm super excited to be part of today's call. Thank you, ShareWeb, for having me, and thank you for all the attendees for being on the call on this very important topic. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Yes, and we also invited Mathieu. Thank you for making yourself available. I know you're pretty busy, so Mathieu is the Director of Partner Success here at ShareWeb.
Thank you, Simon, and hello, everyone. Great to be here. My name is Mathieu. As Simon said, I'm the Partner Success Director, and I'll be your co-host, if you will, for today's webinar, joined by Charles. So very excited as well to go through some very interesting content that's going to have an impact in some of your business. So we're here to really give you some information and allow you to ask questions and give you as much of our time and as much of the information that we have available to allow you to make the right decision in your business going forward. So looking forward to it.
Great. So just before we get into the heart of the subject, we wanted to ask you a poll question to make sure it's clear who we're talking to, and to also clarify who this webinar is intended for and what each person will get from it. So we're asking, what is your current status with the CSP program? Are you looking into it because you're reselling through EA, open licenses, still an advisor with Microsoft, or you're a direct CSP, which means you are billed by Microsoft today and transacting through CSP, or you're an indirect reseller, so you're billed by a distributor like ShareWeb. So those are coming in. Let's close that and share the results. So we have 36% of you are looking into it, so quite interesting. You're not a CSP yet, so we'll have some interesting talks today for that. And 27% are direct CSP currently. So I think this webinar or talk will be mostly addressed to you guys because of these changes will directly affect you today. And some of you are indirect resellers. So maybe let's use, you have a few words for indirect reseller, how this could affect.
Well, we'll have content for all of you. And as we said, we want this to be interactive. So ask your questions, and we'll try to give you content that's relevant to your specific business reality and your specific plans going forward.
Okay, let's get started. Mathieu, hand it to you. The presentation.
All right, thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone, for giving us some insight into your reality with that poll question. So let's get started. We have an agenda that should be covered in about 25 to 30 minutes, and then we'll leave the rest of the time for Q&A. So we're going to look about, Charles is going to talk to us all about the news. So what are the changes to the Direct CSP bill requirements? He'll get into the details. He's going to talk about the vision. So why is Microsoft making these changes? And then we're going to switch to the opportunity that these changes present to you. And finally, we're going to talk to you about how ShareWeb helps you in that process. How can ShareWeb be a true accelerator in your cloud business and be a business partner as we go through this wonderful journey that is the cloud together? So on that note, let's get started. Charles?
Absolutely, and thank you, Matthew. I realize I went very quickly over my background. Just to give you a little bit about my understanding, my knowledge of CSP. I've been working with the program from the early days when it was still in beta, and I've been very much involved with the CSP program over the last. So that goes back when it first launched in 2014. I've been working with CSP since then through all the evolution and the changes. And this one that we're going to talk about today is just one more step in getting this program mainstream at Microsoft. So what are the new Direct CSP bill enrollment requirements? So a lot of what we're going to cover here in terms of requirements is not necessarily new. You should, if you're already transacting on CSP, be aware of some of it. I guess what we have announced at Microsoft just recently, and that will be taking effect starting on August 31st, is mostly around support. So Microsoft is looking at partners are transacting on CSP as being the primary point of contact for everything around support. And so we want to make sure that you're equipped with all the tools and programs from Microsoft to provide the best experience for the customers. So on the support side, we have made a requirement for partners to have support. On one hand, you have the advanced support for partner, and you have on the other end the premier support for partner package. So we refer as these ASFP and PSFP. So partners will have to have either one starting August 31st, but not specifically on that date. This is when this becomes in effect. And so we will be looking at your anniversary date on your CSP contract anniversary date. And we will be expecting that partners have either the ASFP or the PSFP. So advanced support for partners or premier support for partner. The entry level is really the advanced support for partner. So we're looking at $20,000 budget Canadian dollar for this one, and then the PSFP is really depends on how you know, it's really custom based. So depending on what you're looking into in terms of support, this is more advanced support. And then the other requirements really on the service side, this has been in place really from the early days of CSP, but we don't want CSP just to be a resale vehicle. It's really a program that was built around enabling partner business, and those are mostly around managed services and IP, so your intellectual property, and also customer solution application that you may have in your environment. So infrastructure on that side, we expect partners to be able to bill. And so monthly billing is really at the center of the program, and obviously being able to do the provisioning. And so that's in a nutshell what we're announcing and in terms of the changes.
Mm-hmm. So Charles, the infrastructure requirements, those haven't changed. So as Charles said, the billing and the provisioning is still a responsibility of the Direct CSP. Therefore, you have to have the portals, the mechanism, the APIs in place and continuously supported to be able to communicate with Microsoft infrastructure and services. The services requirements such as managed service, IP, customer solution app, those haven't changed either, correct? That's the same requirement as before?
Exactly. I think what is more of awareness here, that we're just reminding people that what the CSP program is about, but we have not announced any changes on the service and infrastructure. Those should be already in place and known by existing CSP partners. And for those looking into becoming, because I saw in the poll that there were a few of the people today were looking at becoming a CSP partners, whether you go direct or indirect, which we'll talk in a moment, you should really have these elements in place. So yeah, those are not changes, but just like more a reminder.
Yeah, and a reminder, and I think also Microsoft will be taking a closer look at the different services that you attach or bundle around Microsoft Office 365, Azure, and Dynamics 365 in their evaluation of determining if a new partner should be allowed in the direct bill program.
That's
Charles,
correct,
we have
Mathieu.
a question from an attendee who's specifically supporting advanced data and AI workloads, and is asking if the premium support package for partners is per workload, or if it's for the whole stack of services they have.
Okay, thank you for the question. Exactly. So either if you look at ASFP, so Advanced Support for Partner, or the Premier Support for Partner, these are not per workload. It is really across all the solution portfolio from Microsoft. So hopefully that clarifies.
Yep, it does. All right, ready for the next slide?
Absolutely. So why is it that Microsoft we're making this announcement, and we're changing their requirements moving forward? So there are a couple elements in here. So first, cloud is solution in the cloud. Everything is moving at a very fast pace, and situation today versus when the program launch is very much different. What we see today in the market is that there are more and more solutions available on CSP, and we can expect this to just continue. The complexity of the solutions are available also is increasing quite fast, and we're thinking here, not only infrastructure as a service, but all the PaaS, or platform as a service. And then there are more providers and limit resources from a Microsoft perspective. And so how do we scale from a Microsoft perspective, making sure that we provide you everything to be successful and make the customer experience a great experience? So what we come to realize is that this is impacting today because of these three, the number of solutions increasing, complexity, and a number of providers with limited resources. This is impacting the level of service that customers are receiving. And so this is really why we're looking into those changes. And as I said, the solution is really look into support. If you want to continue to direct CSP or direct bill with Microsoft, look at support, and these are the two options I just covered.
Yeah, and just to give you some insight to some of the folks on the webinar today, I mean, SureWeb, we have worked and are working with many partners that had the opportunity to be direct bill or direct CSP partners with Microsoft. And they simply, and some of them actually were in transition to an indirect model. They weren't achieving their goals. They didn't have all the service requirements, all the professional service capabilities. They didn't have everything that was required within their business to make it a success. So by coming to SureWeb, they're able to tap into some of our partner network value proposition services, and I'll cover those in a few minutes, and really achieve those objectives and have a plan in place and execute it jointly with SureWeb. So many direct CSPs that we're working with Microsoft have made the switch, and Microsoft is doing some of these changes because they're seeing the same reality that there are a lot of these direct CSPs, and not all of them are reaching their performance metrics and requirements. So they're being encouraged to consider the indirect route. And in some cases with SureWeb, we have hard partners that we've worked with whom we can talk to you about and show how they were able to take their business in an indirect model and achieve their cloud goals and cloud objectives.
We have a question from Michael in two parts, one of which I think, Mathieu, you kind of just answered, but maybe you'll want to add on.
Sure.
The first part is for Charles, and it's he heard about the 20K for advanced support. I'm assuming it's for Canadian, and he's asking what's the cost for premium support. And the other part is what role does SureWeb has to do in that. So Charles?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. As I mentioned, the 20K is in Canadian currency, so this is a budget pricing. So you should engage with Microsoft directly, and I'm more than happy to be that contact contact person for the session today. On the Premier side, so as I mentioned, the advanced support for partner is the entry level, but the Premier support for partner, this is more advanced, and this is really custom. So this is why I didn't want to go into pricing, because it's really kind of designed like built a la carte, and we build it to meet your requirements. But I guess people want to get a sense of what budget they should be thinking of. So we're looking at something that is in the magnitude of $75,000 investment. It could be a little bit less, it could be a little bit low, but I'm trying to give a sense of, from a budget perspective, what we're looking at.
And I think we will, as a follow-up to this webinar, send you information, Microsoft details and online resources that gives you exactly what is included within the advanced support and the premium support, what the cost of each, or at least the starting price point is. It's from what I see in US currency, $15,000 for the advanced and $28,000 for the premium plus, right? That's, as Charles said, it's à la carte. This might change based on your individual situation, but that's the starting point. And we'll be sharing some of those details with you so you can engage with your Microsoft account representative and ask those questions and make sure you have the facts needed to make the right decision on your side. So how all of this fits, or how SureWeb fits in all of this, will be the topic of the second half, if you will, of this webinar. So I will just put your question to the side for now. We'll finish Charles' content, then I'll deep dive on how SureWeb can be an accelerator in your cloud journey, and how we fit within these changes that are coming from Microsoft. And then after that, if you still have your questions, please feel free to raise your hand and put it through the chat.
All right, so if we look at the different model, this is not a change here. There's no change in terms of these two models, but let's go through this very quickly. So obviously the direct model, some of you are already on this, and then you need to decide whether or not you're gonna go and meet the new requirements for support. And so this is where Microsoft is billing you, and then you're billing your customer, and then you own that relationship with the customer. And then the terms are flown from like the Microsoft Cloud Agreement terms are flown from Microsoft to, or passed through to the customer through the direct partner, or what we call now the direct bill. In terms of the indirect, so in this case, ShareWeb, so this is the indirect model where you leverage an indirect provider such as ShareWeb and leverage all these assets that they provide, from the provisioning, from support, and all the value that the indirect provider, and Matthew, you'll go over this, I assume. And then Absolutely. You also, as an indirect provider, have partners, so your own like ShareWeb partners that would provide the service to the customer. And so Microsoft, we have our agreement and terms with ShareWeb, and then ShareWeb would have their own agreement with the reseller, and so we're not really involved here. So those are kind of the two model. And Microsoft, we expect that the vast majority of our partners will be transacting under an indirect provider. That's been the case from day one, and it will continue to be the case. And it's even more important for Microsoft today because of that number of reseller that we're seeing in the market transacting on CSP. So what are the impacts of switching to indirect reseller? So I would say they're all good things happening for partners. So from a support perspective, you can decide to continue and go direct with Microsoft if that makes sense for your business, or leverage support from ShareWeb. And I guess you will save here the cost of support with Microsoft. So whether you go with Advanced or Premier, so that's on one side. On the other side, you have the incentives. We will continue to support our partners direct, and indirect resellers with our incentive programs. Now, these programs are aligned with our fiscal year, Microsoft fiscal year, coming to an end at the end of this week. We don't know yet what the incentive programs will look like next year, but we can assure you that we will continue to provide the incentives to drive the right solution that we want to prioritize. And then from a Microsoft relationship perspective, you can continue to have that relationship with Microsoft. There is no impact here, and ShareWeb will be your agent for acceleration, if I can call it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great aspects here to consider, folks. Really, and that's something that you need to consider. You will not lose any benefits by working through an indirect provider like ShareWeb if you're today a direct and moving to the indirect model, or you're debating between the two. Selling through an indirect reseller like ShareWeb, making you a CSP reseller, gives you all the same benefits in terms of incentives, competencies, and any other programs that you might be participating or thinking of doing with Microsoft. You will still maintain the same, or Microsoft will still maintain the same visibility of your account, your sales, your revenue, and your business through an indirect reseller or partner like ShareWeb. So the thing that you have to remember, though, is when you create your partner account at ShareWeb, you must enter your Microsoft Partner Network ID number directly in your ShareWeb partner portal to make sure that your account and revenue is reported back to Microsoft for visibility.
Mathieu, we have a question from Sean, or in fact, it's more directed towards Charles, I think. Sean has multiple clients across the globe and noticed that the agreement for CSP is per geographic location, and he's interested to see, obviously this is problematic for him. He's looking to see if there's any changes towards that specific requirement.
Mm-hmm. Again, thanks for asking the question. And you know, if I'm misinterpreting the question, please clarify. But I'm assuming that we're referring to the authorization per geographies. And so today there's no changes on the requirement to have an office in the geo that you're doing business. So it is a limitation that we hear from a lot of partners. And this is why I would say that the indirect reseller is probably something that partners should pay attention to leverage, because it will allow you to do business in many more countries. But again, you know, on the CSP Direct bill, this requirement is, there's no changes announced by Microsoft, and I'm not expecting any changes in the next fiscal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, but I did read an FAQ document from Microsoft that says for the advanced support, it can be one plan, one package that can cover multiple regions. However, for the premium support, you need a package per region that you do business in. Could that be accurate? I don't want to mislead folks, though.
Yeah, so this is where maybe I misinterpret the question. I thought like the question was around CSP authorization, but to go to your point, Mathieu, so premier agreement can be leveraged at a global level. What we do provide in the premier agreement is what we call technology account manager, and this is not like this is per geo. So you would have one in Canada, for example. But that one would not be available across all the regions. But the contract per se is a contract that is global.
That is global, correct. All right. So one support fee, but if you want those specialized resources in different region and geos, then you need to acquire them per region.
And this is why I meant this is a la carte. You build this program, support the way that it meets your requirements. And if you need to have a technology account manager in other region, then we can certainly accommodate the partner for this.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll take over for now. Thank you, Charles, and I'm sure we'll get back with some questions, or I'll be asking you some questions based on the content. But let's switch the conversation now to ShareWeb and what role ShareWeb plays in your cloud journey. And if you want to think of SureWeb, think of us in this way. We are your cloud accelerator. We want to be your business partner in this cloud journey that you probably have already been in for the last few years, but now you're looking at the next phase of your business and you want to take it to the next level. So consider us a added value cloud distributor or your cloud accelerator, business partner by your side. And some of you folks might not be familiar with who SureWeb is, so just within a minute, let me just say that we've been around for 2 decades now. We have over 7,000 partners in our partner network who together cater to over 50,000 end customer organizations worldwide. We are 500 plus employees, including many certified experts, and we hold 8 Microsoft Gold competencies. SureWeb's business, and you'll see in the product portfolio, is one side is our hosting business. So we host a lot of our own cloud solutions, some that are complementary, some that are our own IP, intellectual property, that are made for partners to bundle, if you will, with Office 365 and other Microsoft services. So for our own data centers, we have 5 in the US and Canada that hold different PCI, ISO, SOC type certifications. We received multiple awards and accolades over the last few years, both from Microsoft and from, for example, the #1 CSP distributor in North America, from Redmond Channel Partner. This award, very proud of, because it comes from folks like you guys. It's great to be recognized by Microsoft, but when we're being recognized from our partners and the partner community, that's at least personally where I find what I found most rewarding. One of our support capabilities or metrics that we track is our NP score, Net Promoter Score, and year to date is at 78. So look it up if you're not familiar with NP score. Similar, but not quite like NSAT, but very proud and very unique for a hoster like ourselves to have such a high NP score. It proves to the quality and the emphasis that we put on the support that we offer to our channel partners. And finally, our certifications from the BNQ last in 2013, 15, and 17. This basically is a certification that is awarded to SureWeb and is based on employee satisfaction. So they go through a survey that's very extensive, touches all aspects of their working relationship, if you will, and environment at SureWeb. This basically shows that our partners, our employees, I should say, enjoy working with SureWeb. So we're very proud of that fact. Our employees are our most valuable assets after all, and we want to make sure that they're happy, and we've been successful in doing that. So that's the SureWeb side. Before I get into a little bit more about the partner network, I want to tell you something. Just like you should be building your own value proposition to your customers based on what you know about them. So what are their pain points? What are their challenges? What are their processes? And where can you provide value? Well, we do the same thing for you guys. So when we build and continuously enhance our partner network value proposition, we always make sure that we understand our partners' reality. So we want to make sure we understand where your pain points are, where you're having challenges, where can we accelerate and increase the value to ensure our mutual success. So I'm not going to go through all of these here, but it's just a segue, if you will, into our value proposition at SureWeb that is built on some of the challenges or difficulties that partners today have. And you might recognize yourself in some of these pain points. If you see some that are not there, I'd be interested in talking to you about that. But for the time being, let's transition from that, understanding our clients, you guys, our partners, and making sure that we cater to your requirements. So as I said, SureWeb is a cloud accelerator, and our goal is to streamline your operation, accelerate your product launch, and help you increase your client value with a business partner, SureWeb, that is committed to your cloud success. We're not looking to just transfer your CSP seats or transfer your Office 365 licenses to SureWeb. That's one part of the process, but we look at the big picture and for the long term. We want to make sure that we understand each other and we align our strengths and we go to market together and we win together, not just for the short term, but for the medium and the long term. And how do we accomplish that? We do so through 4 main pillars: engaged partnership, accessible expertise, innovative platform, and best-in-class products. So what does that mean? Before I tell you that, just before I get into the detail, the SureWeb product portfolio is vast. Here's a summary of our main product families, if you will. So of course, Office 365, Skype for Business, and all the workloads around Office 365, including Windows 10 and business and enterprise solutions. Of course, the Microsoft Azure, so IaaS and Platform as a Service was a service offering. Dynamics 365 from the financials to the CRM solutions. Of course, the traditional hosted Exchange, Lync, SharePoint solutions hosted on SureWeb infrastructure. We have a Cloud PBX and VoIP solution that is great. And again, I'm not going to be talking about products today. So if you want to engage and learn more about these solutions and how we've made, for example, Dynamics 365 a turnkey solution for a partner that's never sold CRM before, reach out to SureWeb. An account manager will take the time to tell you all about how you, who don't know how to scope, deploy, and support perhaps CRM online solutions, can now do so with SureWeb and start generating revenue from those high price point SKUs, let's just say. So cloud servers and databases, so SureWeb's own infrastructure as a service, database as a service. We've got some compliance and security, some online backup solution, DR as a service security as well. So that's a little bit of a summary of our product portfolio. But getting back to our main three pillars, without getting into detail in each, I want to make sure that you understand that at SureWeb, you are accompanied by a partner, a business partner at every step of your journey with us. And that starts at the beginning of your enablement through training services. So those training services can be personalized one-on-one based on the partner, the quantity, the objectives of the training, the type of resources, the quantity of people that need to be trained, both on sales and technical aspects. We've got walkthrough video, so you can consult our video library by product and go through selling and technical aspects. And of course, we give you access to demo and trial accounts for you to try out and for you to use in a trial or demo process with your customers. And this is a little bit of a sneak peek, but we're coming out this summer with a not for resale program, or what Microsoft calls an internal use right program. So you'll be able to use within your own business, not for resale purposes, a vast quantity of SureWeb services at a heavily discounted price. But stay tuned for that. So if you're not a SureWeb partner, you'll have to sign up to get access to those. But if you are, we will be communicating details throughout the summer about this new program. So we get you trained, we get you access to our portals, we get you all the sales, the technical, the operational requirements to make sure we have a plan, we know where we're going. And of course, in that process, we look at marketing. So marketing is something that a lot of partners struggle with. So we want to make sure that we are there to support you in that process. So through your partner toolbox, you have access to a lot of marketing content. So campaigns in a box, for example, that will contain an email template for a product offering that is easily branded in HTML for you to put in your mass mailing tool or any drip campaigns you might have going on. You'll have presentation templates, cost estimator, total cost of ownership, ROI calculator for some products, especially like Azure, for example, to understand the cost of staying on premise versus moving to Azure. So a lot of these documents and content are available to you, and you can quickly put your image, your logo, your colors, and use them as your own material, including SureWeb content like blogs, case studies, technology content that we write on a regular basis. So the next motion is in your innovative platform, which is, well, you transition before the platform to the selling aspect of things. Yeah, no, I think there's a little bit of a mix up here. So innovative platform should be on the right, accessible expertise in the middle. So the selling aspect of the business relationship is key at SureWeb. One of the main aspects that we try to accomplish is help our partners accelerate their cloud success. So let's say you were aiming to do 1 million in net new cloud revenue sales with SureWeb. Well, before SureWeb, with SureWeb, we're going to try to increase that significantly. And I'll talk a little bit about this leverage or acceleration effect in a second. But your relationship at SureWeb starts with your account manager. And this person is surrounded by a team of professionals that can help you understand a product offering, understand this licensing complexities or nuances, understand the quoting aspects, how to qualify an opportunity. Solutions architects are also available to co-sell with you, to get on calls with your end customers to make sure that the right questions are being asked and to make sure that the right information is being gathered so that when you present an official proposal to your customer, you know that you're not taking a gamble. You're not at risk, if you will, of perhaps having selected the wrong resource in your quote, and building the wrong offering, and then stuck with perhaps a solution that is a higher cost versus what was presented to the customer. So the account manager, the solution architects, the assistants to help you scope, qualify, handle objections even, and build proposal to your end customers is something very valuable at SureWeb, and it all starts with your account manager. So the next aspect is really the migration. So moving workloads, whether they be on-premise applications and data to Azure, or whether it be moving Exchange or Zimbra or Lotus Note emails from on-premise to Office 365, you have the full support of a dedicated migration team. And these specialists, let me tell you, they've moved over 50,000 end customer organizations to the cloud over the last decades. They're good, they're certified, there are processes, best practice, guides in place, and they will take off a big chunk of the migration responsibilities that you typically have to carry. So that resource will execute a lot of the more operational tasks around a migration, tracking the user creation, that data is being put into the right mailbox and so forth. You, of course, can charge the same price to your end customer, but this will help you reduce your operational cost attached to an Office 365 migration, for example. And the service in the licensing at SureWeb includes the migration service. So when you buy an Office 365 Business Premium plan with SureWeb, for example, as a partner, that migration service is included in the license. And that includes also the use of any third-party migration tools that we use to remotely connect to the source platform and move the data to Office 365. So you can save on time, on efficiency, on licenses, and all of that to maximize your profits and lower your expenses associated to with cloud services. And finally, the innovative platform is really around the management. So SureWeb has developed a proprietary in-house partner portal called Cumulus. In this portal, it's really where you do all of your day-to-day operations. Create new accounts, create users, assign licenses, make changes, do your billing, create support tickets. You have a great single pane view, if you will, of all your accounts within a central location. You get great visibility on who your customers are, what services each of your customers are doing or using from you, and your invoice gives you that full detail or visibility as well. You want to know how many specific Azure resources your customer is consuming? Well, at SureWeb, you're going to get that detail in your invoice. And of course, it's real-time provisioning. So through API integration that we have with Microsoft, when you create, for example, a new Office 365 tenant and subscription on the SureWeb Partner Portal, within seconds, that tenant is provisioned on the Microsoft side, and you can already jump into that Office 365 portal, start creating users and assigning services and performing additional administrative tasks.
Mathieu,
yes.
Question from Austin, who's asking if the free migration includes Azure Classic to Azure ARM.
Mm-hmm. No, great question. So all migration services at SureWeb that are including in the product licensing fee are around Exchange, so hosted Exchange, and Exchange Online within Office 365. Any other migration service that you might require and assistance from us is available at SureWeb. For example, Dropbox to OneDrive, SharePoint on-premise to SharePoint Online, an on-premise application running on a VM, on a local VM or hardware, moving that to Azure. All of these services, so expertise, know-how, recommendation, all of these are available. However, they do come at a cost. So they're not including in the licenses, but that expertise and those resources are available. And by interacting with your account manager and the solution architect team, they'll make sure to provide you with the right migration path and details that you need to complete your proposal to your end customer, and any cost that you would incur at a partner for leveraging SureWeb's professional services assistance for migrating that workload to Azure. Now, that being said, I want to make sure it's clear that we are all about recurrent revenue at SureWeb, right? And helping our partners build that recurrent revenue. So one time, our project fees like this, it's not a profit generating activity, if you will, with SureWeb. So we've got great pricing, and you still can put your own markup and make additional revenue and margins on those project fees between you and your customer. So I hope that answers the question. And the final aspect is really around the support. So supporting at SureWeb is key. I spoke about our NP score to date. It's a 75 plus. It's actually at 78 as of last month. So this is 24/7 support. So as soon as you become a SureWeb partner, you have access to 24/7 support. And it's actually a VIP support team that caters to all of our partners. So you get more certified, more trained and experienced technicians working on your cases. And whether you have one customer or 100 customers at SureWeb, it is unlimited, unrestricted support. So you can contact us once or 100 times that month. There's no limits. So that's a great benefit for our partners. That support is 24/7 in French and English, and it is based right here in North America. And because we're not going to get into the ins and out of every aspect of our offering, it is worth mentioning though that you can get partner branded options. So what we call our valet services. So if you want SureWeb, you yourself, I should rephrase, you yourself do not want to offer support services to your customers, nor do you want to, let's say, get involved in the Office 365 migration with your customers. You like to hand that off to SureWeb, you can do so. And under the valet services, we'll perform those two activities directly with your end customer under your own brand. So you get a branded dedicated PBX telephone number, ticketing queue and support email, and basically we'll interact directly with your end customers with service level agreements in place, monthly reporting back to you, and we'll move your customers to the cloud. We'll support them 24/7 under your brand. So that's really how we make sure that we have value at every step of the partner journey at SureWeb. But what does that mean to you, the partner? So these are great elements of our value proposition, but what does that mean to you? If I had to summarize that in a few points, I would say that the first thing is allows you to go to market much quicker than you traditionally would have gone on your own, or perhaps even with other partners that you're used to working with. So that allows you to ramp up a new cloud service offering, bundle it into your managed service practice, and go to market quickly because you're able to capitalize on the various different professional service capabilities that SureWeb extends to its partners. So perhaps for you, launching a new product, a cloud service, was the fact that you didn't have the expertise around the selling and the technical pre-sales aspect. Well, at SureWeb, you know that whatever rep you have now answering and knocking on your customer's door can turn around and get full tech pre-sale support, advanced solution architects, and co-selling support from SureWeb. Perhaps you're challenged that you want to offer Azure or Dynamics, but you don't know how to do that. You don't have the expertise internally to ask the right questions, to migrate those customers to the cloud, and then to support them. Well, knowing that you have SureWeb by your side allows you now to do those deployments or to do those marketing moves and add those services to your offering while minimizing your investments and going to market quickly. And all of this helps you to, in many cases, as some of our partners have reported, increase your cloud sales. So you have co-selling, you have marketing, you have training capabilities. You thought you'd do $1 million in sales this year in new cloud revenue. Well, with SureWeb, there's a good chance we might help you do 1.2 million. And at the same time, we're going to lower your cloud expenses. So by offloading some of your migration, some of your support capabilities with great billing, provisioning, unified view, you get to optimize how you bill your customers. That will directly decrease your operation expenses and benefits internally. And that has a direct impact of hitting your net profits. So yeah, you might get some licenses, Office 365 SKUs from another competitor at a better price, but you got to look at the overall picture. And that's what we call the SureWeb acceleration or leverage effect. That is, with SureWeb, we can accelerate your cloud sales, so increase your top line revenue. We help you decrease your operational expenses, so your bottom line, and together that helps you achieve much higher net profits or margins. It's not just about the gross margins. What do I pay for the license? What's my markup? What's my profit? No. How much more can I sell? How much can I decrease my costs? Therefore, what is my net operational profit? And that's really what we focus on SureWeb, allowing you, the partner, to focus on selling and growing your business. And all of this is great, but I'd like to show you a few examples of what our partners have to say about these aspects, because it's great to hear it from me, and we have lots of case studies available on the website. If you're not a SureWeb partner and you'd like to talk to other SureWeb partners, reach out to us and we'll accommodate that request. But here's a few comments from some of our partners that have seen concrete results. For example, the first one on the left here from Mike at DevSource, he's able to save a 40-hour week of management across their technical staff now that he's with SureWeb. He spends less time on tickets. He can just turn around, open the ticket, not spend as much time working with the customer, looking online, trying to find the information. he leverages the SureWeb support staff to do that work and get back to him with a troubleshooting or next steps in the process. For example, Serge at Informatique Mercier, the solution architects here were able, and the migration team were able to reduce their sales cycle by upwards to 30%. So their sales team, by having the right content, the right know-how, knowing how to approach each customer, what questions to ask, how to position the cloud service in question, and the assistance of solution architects to help scope, qualify, and build an accurate proposal, helped them reduce the sales cycle by 30%, and that had a direct impact on how much new cloud revenue they are able to bring into the business on a yearly basis. And Eddie at Solve IT, well, with migration, I've earned a 500% profit on each customer migration to Office 365. So in some cases, migration to Office 365 are a loss leader or a cost center, if you will. Well, with SureWeb, you can offload a lot of those migration capabilities or processes, therefore maximizing your profit for every single migration on Office 365 that you do. And finally, as an account manager, really the relationship that you have at SureWeb starts with your account manager. And as Rija from Lowdown has said, we're very involved. So partners that are engaged with us, for whom we see great synergy and potential, we will make the investments, and not just in MDF or NFR, but really to make sure that we have a joint plan. We build objectives together, we review them on a quarterly or biannual basis, and we make sure that we hit those objectives. And if not, we look at what's wrong or what's happening, and we address through a gap plan those deficiencies. So we're really committed to your success, and you've got that account manager that brings that coaching, that advisor role, if you will, and best practices that he can recommend that you consider to implement within your own business. So before we wrap things up, I just want to highlight a fact that at SureWeb, we've got multiple partner programs, and that's key to allow you as a partner to really join the partnership at SureWeb at your own terms and at your own pace. So for example, we have an advisor program, we have a distributor, which is a co-branded, and a reseller or white label program. So based on how you want to manage your relationship with your end customer and your relationship with SureWeb, you choose the right program for you. You want to bill your customer, but you don't want to support, that's the co-branded. You want to bill, support, that's the white label. You don't want to bill, you don't want to support, that's the advisor model. And what's great is that you can have an account open with all three programs and put customers, depending on their profile or how challenging, I should say, that you think they will be in terms of managing, you can put them in the right program based on their profile, or you can start as an advisor and over time move your customers to a reseller model as you gain more expertise, perhaps put some people in place, some processes in place, and want to start taking more ownership of the process and of your customer around the cloud services that you sell, and maximize your profits. Because the two, if you look at the white label and co-branded, that is a partner pricing that you have for Microsoft hosted solution and another one for a SureWeb hosted solution. And basically that pricing is your partner cost. And for SureWeb hosted services, that cost decreases the more you sell with SureWeb. So your margins increase as you sell more. Versus the advisor, which is a SureWeb customer that you've referred, you can still be their MSP, but for some reason you don't want to support or be bothered with invoicing your customer. In that case, you can have a choice of two different advisor programs, depending on whether the customer is already on Office 365 or it's a brand new customer, but they're in the range of about 15% a year for year one, 5% ongoing, or 150% one-time commission and 7% ongoing commission. So no matter what your business model is, no matter how or what kind of relationship you want with your end customer, know that SureWeb has a partner program that can fit your needs and that it can evolve over time as your business evolves. So the last section is really how does the transfer process from direct indirect work? This is not the process with Microsoft, but basically today, if you're a direct reseller, you want to come in direct, this will be how it's going to be carried out. If you're looking at direct or the direct bill model, the same process will follow if you have existing customers, perhaps under an advisor account with Microsoft, under which you are partner of record. So the process is quite simple, and SureWeb has invested some IP around this process to allow you to easily export your client list from the partner center at Microsoft and to import them into the SureWeb Partner Portal, and then authorize the CSP transfer and provision the official subscription. So it went through the process quickly. Let me just let it refresh. But basically, you go on your partner portal, you export your list of clients. That's the first step. Then you go into your SureWeb Partner account, and you'll see on the next walkthrough right here. So you'll import from Office 365, choose your document, your export document, import into SureWeb. What that does is that creates all of your subscriptions and tenants, and then you get to validate the licenses. You start the process, and basically then that sends an invitation to that end customer to authorize a transfer that you can do on behalf if you've got delegated admin. Once that authorization has been done within the Office 365 admin portal, we validate the authorization was completed on the SureWeb side. Once it's authorized, we officially provision the licenses. So that creates the tenant on the SureWeb side, assigns the appropriate licenses, and then you would basically go back to your Microsoft account and reduce the licenses to make sure you're not being billed on both sides. So very intuitive, automated process to move a small or a large number of customers under your SureWeb Partner account. And these are all tools that are embedded and integrated into the Cumulus Partner Portal, and that SureWeb has developed to make this process seamless and as quick as possible, if you will, for our partners. So as a wrap up, I'll go first, Charles, and if there's anything you want to add, please do so. Really, changes are coming. So Charles presented the changes come into effect August 31st. And at that point, it is based on your partner anniversary with Microsoft that those requirements will have to take effect, and you'll have to decide, do I stay direct or do I move to indirect? And if you decide to stay direct, then those new support fees will come into play. And really, it's all about an opportunity here to add more value and to collaborate and work with a partner like SureWeb to try to accelerate your cloud business and focus on your client outcomes. So we see it as an opportunity to engage with more partners. We see it as an opportunity to create value around Microsoft Cloud Solutions by leveraging SureWeb IP, by leveraging other SureWeb solutions that you can bundle around Office 365, and helping you make the most out of this cloud opportunity. Charles, is there anything you want to add?
The only thing I would like to add is, what is important today is that you understand when is this change going to impact you. So you need to go to Partner Center if you're an existing partner, CSP Direct partner, and go into your account profile, and you will see the date, and that's the date that you need to have a plan for. And I would suggest that you can make a decision today. Sooner is better than later in taking action on this. I would say that just like Matthew said, see it as an opportunity to deliver more value. And so we certainly encourage the option of with ShareWeb.
Thank you, Charles. Before we get to the Q&A section, I'd just like to remind everyone that SureWeb is hosting its second Accelerate Cloud Summit this year. It will be in Montreal on October 18th and 19th. Great opportunity to come, meet with the SureWeb exec team, get visibility on our product strategies, our product roadmap, and hear from industry-leading speakers about different topics around marketing, bundling, how to manage your MSP practice, tips, best practices, and so forth. I'll just run a 30-second video from last year.
Nice picture, man.
Yeah. Okay, that doesn't seem to be running. So engage with SureWeb. They'll give you more details about the Accelerate Summit. There is a cost to be there. However, the value gained from it will be incredible. So reach out to us and we'll answer your questions. So on that note, I'd like to open it up to the Q&A. Before I do that, joining SureWeb is a very easy process. It starts with an online registration. So go to sureweb.com, partners/partners, you register. It is free. There are no commitments. So you can sign up today. You'll get access to your partner portal. You'll even get access to your partner toolbox. Have a look, talk to your account manager, get a sense whether this is the right fit for you. But you will not get charged for any services until you actually provision an end customer service. So Simon, what do you have for me?
We have one question from Michael, who's asking what would be his end customer experience if moving from direct CSP to indirect resellers. So we touched a little bit on the ShareWeb partner experience with the portal, but what would the end customer see?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the first thing I need to make sure that everyone understands is that if you do a transfer, whether it's from advisor to ShareWeb CSP or from direct bill to indirect, there is no end customer impact. There's no service disruption whatsoever. The only thing that your end customer has to do, or that you can do on behalf of your customer if you have access to their account as a delegated admin, is to accept and authorize the transfer. Once that's done, their account gets moved simply from your direct or from Microsoft to your ShareWeb account, and business as usual.
Great, thanks. Another question is, which countries do ShareWeb serves under CSP?
Yeah, so ShareWeb is a authorized two-tier or indirect CSP partner in both North America, so US and Canada. And we are a direct authorized CSP in Europe as well.
Okay. Any other questions? That's the right time. If not, that'll close it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mathieu, for taking this time to explain the partner experience, and Charles to clarify these upcoming changes from the CSP. Really helpful, and I hope you liked it too. So
thank you, Simon. Thank you, Charles, once again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And as a last reminder, reach out to ShareWeb, ask your questions. We're here to help. For the ins and outs, however, around the direct bill or anything that touches Microsoft, best to engage with your product manager, but we're here to help. And with the generous offer of Charles' assistance, we can make sure that we connect you with the right person if you don't have a direct relationship with someone at Microsoft to get you the answers that you need to make that right decision. So on that note, thank you, Charles. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.